Good afternoon, or morning, or evening, wherever you are. I am glad to introduce Joe McCutchen to my first interview on this website. This is a WCBA production. Good afternoon, Joe.
Good afternoon to you, Oscar.
I am so honored to have you as my guest on this first interview on my new website, WCBA.
Well, I'm honored to be interviewed, to be your first interview. It's a great honor.
You know, I'm in your lovely home here. We're surrounded by all these. Look at over there on the wall, a picture of your lovely daughter being married and all those grandchildren. This is and you had some great hosts here. You've been the host. Some great guests here.
Herman Talmadge, Sam Nunn, many others have. Through the years, Pat Buchanan's been here in the house, and Oscar Poole's here right now. What a great celebrity he is.
We're having a great time. Now, LJ is your hometown.
Yes, sir.
And it's 75 miles north
of Atlanta,
Georgia.
Right.
And that's where we are. Now, I'm in East LJ.
And I'm in LJ.
You're in LJ. and the twain meet.
Right here.
Joe, I appreciate you as a person. You are my friend. And we've been friends, 20 years?
Oh, gosh, longer than that. You know, the barbecue's 21 years old. We've been friends, I'd say 40 years.
That's
but,
right.
We've been very close friends since you started the barbecue in 1989. And I came to know and respect you as what you are today, a huge free enterprise champion. And, Oscar, I think you are the number one salesman for free enterprise in the country, and you are a marketing genius, my dear friend.
Well, thank you very much.
You are.
Now, folks, that's Joe talking. That's not me bragging on myself. That's Joe talking, and I appreciate that very much. You've almost convinced me.
Well, Oscar, I had the honor in 1975 of being voted Small Businessman of the Year in the state of Georgia, and Herman Talmadge and Sam Nunn came up here and honored me, the two senators, and came up to my house here for reception in 75. So I think I can have the background to appreciate somebody like you that is a small business and free enterprise champion.
Well, now, how did you once know me?
Well, I knew you as a pastor, which you were a very good pastor. You know, you have shared with me that you have won Pastor of the Year honors 3 or 4 times in your life, and I've always known you to be a fine person with a fine family, and so I've known you 40 or 50 years. We've known each other.
Well, how did we connect? Well, tell that story about one day when you came over to our barbecue.
Well, when you first got started, I have to confess, I went over to see you in the little shack. Of course, I had great respect for you, and the first thing you said to me was, you want to help free enterprise, and I thought to myself, I said, gosh, this guy won't be around in 6 months. Gosh, was I ever wrong?
You know, the mayor, our beloved mayor of East LJ,
Mac West, fine fella,
said the same thing, but he has since repented.
Well, I think I have too.
I've got to tell this story. You know, we put some pigs on the hill.
Right.
We call this the Pig Hill of Fame.
Which is your marketing, yes.
Oh, yes, part of our
marketing genius.
They weren't sure about this until one day they were in the station there in London, England, and here came a man with a Poole's T-shirt on, barbecue T-shirt. In England, at that, I forget where it was, at the airport.
Right.
And there he was walking, and his wife, and Max saw the man with the T-shirt, and the little boy in him came out. He said, I'm mayor of that town. And that man had just been to our barbecue the day before.
Well, Oscar, it's just a great story. It's just a fantastic, and I think so. We ought to today. You were honored in the newspaper. You know, I think what people think about you locally. I mean, I don't care how famous you are, and I think you're definitely world famous. But when you go back to the real thing, how people in the community think about you, and you were honored by being featured in the Times Courier today. Of course, you've been in the Times Courier many times, and you have the respect and admiration of not only people around the world, but Oscar, the people in Gilmer County.
By the way, Joe, folks out here in the audience around the world, you are hearing Colonel Poole and Joe McCutchen. Joe, you are the number 1 call-in man in America on all talk shows, CNN, C-SPAN, many talk shows.
Well, I was just on C-SPAN, which I've been on many times, but Oscar, in 1995, Mary Madeline and Dee Dee Myers, she was Clinton's press secretary, and Mary Madeline, of course, was a famous Republican consultant married to James Carville. Mary called me and said, "Joe, we want to fly you embedded to Washington. You're the #1 caller to talk shows in the country." And that was in 95. And then in 2000, Brian Lamb of C-SPAN asked me to come to Washington, and he also honored me in front of the Capitol, and I got to talk to people all over the country. And he said I was also #1. So I guess since 95, they still tell me I am. So for 15 years, I've been, as far as I know, the #1 caller in America. And I ask people who's next to me, and they say nobody's even close to you. So
I was talking to Wolf Blitzer. They were in Washington.
Yes, when we visited.
I was with you, and Wolf said, "When Joe McCutchen comes on, let him on."
Well,
and he reaffirmed that you were the #1 call-in man in America.
Well, it's been a great honor. I've had a lot of fun with it. And, Oscar, a lot of my call-ins are about you.
How well I know.
Telling the people to come to Poole's Famous Barbecue.
Yes, you have. I know back there at Fox and Friends, you called in and said, "We're meeting next Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock at Colonel Poole's world-famous barbecue." Well, that was all over the world.
Well, I had the same thing. It sure was. Well, Rush Limbaugh, a couple of years ago, I had the honor of calling in and talking about you and what we're doing and the Poole's McCutchen Small Business Coalition.
By the way, Joe, on this website, that's on there. Your conversation with Rush Limbaugh is on here.
That's fantastic.
And by the way, while we're at it, it's Grace. I can't think of her last name, but it's a nice name, of course. She's a beautiful lady. She has going postal over here in East LJ. And I say East LJ because, as I'm over here in East and you're in the West. Funny thing is, our mayor, Mac West, is mayor of East LJ.
His name's West.
Isn't that funny?
That is funny.
His name's West. Well, how did we connect? Well, I think you've already said that.
Well, we had been friends for years, but then when you started the barbecue, I came over there, and then we developed a very close friendship. And then I was the first one to tell you how well you were doing. Like I was the first one to tell you you'd be a millionaire, of course.
Well, what I wanted, yes, you were. What we want to talk about here mainly is this McCutchen Poole Small Business Coalition. And you say a few words. You like this line, 27 million?
Well, there are 27 million small businesses in America. And the man and the wife and one other employee, that's 81 million votes. President Obama won with 65 million. Then, Oscar, you have the Tea Party people, which started up only a year ago. I understand there was something like 15 million. So that's 95 million votes. And Tom Graves was just elected. I think we put together that coalition to win for Tom Graves' election to Congress.
I want to say that Tom Graves, who is only 40 years old, who is presidential, by the way.
I think he'll be president someday.
I saw him night before last sworn in.
I did too.
You did too.
I did too. What a great day.
And I choked up, as did his father and mother who were there. And we're champions of Tom Graves. We were able to put together a small business coalition
and the Tea Party to elect him
right here in the 9th District in North Georgia.
With our good friend Allegheny and WDUN Radio, the Allegheny Show, which we'll get to here, which has been we want to make Allegheny nationally famous and a nationally syndicated show, and I think we can do it.
Yes, that's WDUN.
.com.
AM 550.
You can hear it all the way through Atlanta.
Or now, WDUN.com, you can hear all over the world.
Right. Well, let me mention this to you. I think you were going to get into this, but one reason I got so fired up and dedicated the rest of my life to free enterprise was in '85. I took my family to Europe, and during that time we went to Czechoslovakia behind the Iron Curtain. And Oscar, it scared me so much when I saw those soldiers with machine guns. I thought they may kill me and my wife and 3 kids.
Were those guns pointed at you?
They weren't pointed at me, but they could have been. They were pointed down at the ground, but they were searching our car, and they looked rough, like they could kill us. And then we went into the country. The food was terrible. The people looked terribly unhappy. And then when we left, the same thing happened. They had guard dogs under our car, and they had the machine guns and the guns. And then I heard a shot ring out, and then when we got back to Austria, to Vienna, we found that a man had been shot trying to escape to freedom. So I decided, Oscar, freedom is the most important thing we want. And I told my parents, we had a carpet mill. We shut the carpet mill down, and I dedicated the rest of my life to cutting taxes and to cutting spending. And it looks like we really need that now in the country today.
I'm so glad you felt free to tell this on this program, because we're headed that way in America. We're headed toward socialism or communism. I can't say
communism.
Communism. That's a dirty word. I don't want that word in my mouth.
Well, Oscar, I think with what we're doing with the McCutchen Poole Small Business Coalition, plus the Tea Party movement, which just Sunday you did something great. Your son Greg and his wife did a commemorative banner, Allegheny, telling everybody listen to the show. And you had John and Margaret Williamson, Dr. John Williamson, and Margaret, who has her master's in nuclear medicine, two of the Tea Party leaders there at the barbecue.
He has his PhD in physics.
Yes, PhD, Dr. John Williamson. And anyway, we're really proud of them. And Oscar, it's just amazing the people that we're associated with. And we have these people who are energized, fired up. And I am confident that we can win elections 100 years after you and I are dead and gone with the coalition of the McCutchen Poole Small Business Coalition plus the Tea Party people.
Now, people, you are listening to Joe McCutchen. I've told you already, he is the number one, not number two, not number three, the number one call-in man in America. And often I call over here to your house, I get your cell phone or your house phone, I can't get you. It says the caller is busy on the phone. Anyhow, it's a great relationship we have, and I'm so honored that we have put together this McCutchen Poole Small Business Coalition.
Which I think can change America.
Yes, we do. We're serious. And I think if you'll read our talking points on this website, they're here somewhere, and Grace has put them somewhere, and boy, are they impressive, even though we did do it. And we're talking. We're talk.
Well, now, Alice mentioned Allegheny. We want to encourage everybody. We think Allegheny is a huge part of our movement. We want everybody to encourage them to tune in to Allegheny, 5:50 a.m. Monday through Friday, 10 to 12, and call into his show, 1-800-552-WDUN. Al is a great guy, and I think, Oscar, we can build through this radio network of Al's, we can make him number one in America, and that's our goal, right?
Yes, you just said it.
Number one.
You took the words out of my mouth. We're out to make Allegheny the number one talk show in America.
Amen.
And we're also dedicated to not saying anything bad about anyone.
No, Oscar, I'm so glad you brought that up. We want to sell free enterprise. We're going to champion people like Oscar Poole, Otis Brumby, people that have been very successful. We're not going to attack anybody. We're going to get the young people to try to energize them to commit to excellence, to tell them how to be successful. Oscar and I would be glad to meet with anybody. We have a lot of other successful people like Ed Singleton, J.C. Sanford that would be glad to meet with people. We want to make Gilmer County the small business capital of the world. That's another thing we're working on, right?
That's right. We're doing that almost day and night. And we have many others who are doing the same thing.
Yes, we have. I counted the other night for the Allegheny show and what we're doing. I counted about 55 people that are recruiting for the Allegheny show and Oscar, what we're doing. And I'm talking about sharp people, real solid leaders. Tom Graves. We've got just a whole slew of people that are helping us.
How about those folks down at Sea Island?
Well, they're fired up. We've got people like Otis Brumby, who has a home down there. I just met the lady that owns the Cincinnati Reds. We've got Bill Walker, great story. Bill Walker, a family owned leases the airport there, Bill Walker Aviation. Oscar, he went from riches to rags and back to riches, and he gives God all the credit. He was bankrupt, and then he went to Lithuania on a commemorative flight, met the Prime Minister of Lithuania and the President. They hired him to build an air force, and today the guy made all the millions back. Then he was hired by Latvia and some other countries. They did the same thing with him. So here's a guy today that went from, you've heard of rags to riches, he went from riches to rags and back to riches, and gives God all the credit, as the two of us do.
Yes, and folks, while I'm at it, I'm giving God the credit for where I am. We have this world-famous North Georgia legend landmark, Colonel Poole's Georgia Barbecue. It's known as
all over the world
as a Pig Hill of Fame, and I can't separate this. I cannot separate the body politic from the spiritual. Now, as you know, I'm a retired Methodist, United Methodist preacher, and I still am an evangelist. I have.
You're still preaching.
Only my church has changed to a barbecue.
Well, Oscar, it's just a real, and I'll say this, ladies and gentlemen, Oscar Poole, he has a great barbecue. I recommend everybody come from all over the world, which they have been doing. He's got great food, and what's great, people can come up here and see Oscar, and Oscar will be glad to sit down with them and share his success secrets. And not only will Oscar, but the powerful people come to Poole's Barbecue. People like Frank Barron, Conway. There's a lot of people that have been successful, and this is only only the beginning. And I think what Oscar wants to do is he wants to have the top people in the world in every field, stock market, every field, come to Poole's Barbecue.
That's right.
And let people get to know him. But the barbecue has become more than just a restaurant. People, it's gotten to the point where if you hadn't been to Poole's Barbecue, people say, "What's wrong with you? You better go."
Well, thank you very much, Joe. It sure is good having you on this broadcast today on WCBA. Now, by the way, that means what the mind can conceive, the heart believe, you can achieve. Now, you have a focus on excellence. Tell about your TV program.
Well, I have a television program that has about 100,000 viewers. I've had it for 10 years. Of course, great Oscar has been on my program, and we're going to have him on again here in the fall and go over talk about the same thing we're talking about now, about building our powerful coalition, which we think can control American politics long after we're dead and gone. We have outstanding people on the program like Oscar Poole, Otis Brumby. We're going to try to have Bill Walker. We've had Tom Graves, who's current congressman. We've had just a lot of very powerful people. And what we try to do, Oscar, and what you and I both try to do, is encourage people to commit to excellence, to be the best, to use their God-given talents like you've done to become highly successful.
Well, how about Jody? You want to say a word about Jody?
Jody Heiss is running for 7th District. You met him, and I met him. He came up Sunday, the Poole's Famous Barbecue. A great conservative, and you and I both endorsed him.
That's right. Can you believe, Joe, that he's taking John Linder's place in the House of Representatives? We hope he does. We hope he does.
Right.
The 7th District sought endorsement from the 9th District.
Yeah, they came up here to get our endorsement. And also, he's got a good radio voice. He's been on the radio before, and I think he'll be part of the Gainey. And I was going to make this clear. I think you and I are generals in the Gainey Army. We're building an army for Allegheny, right?
That's right. You're a general.
And you're a general.
And I'm a general.
we may have to make Lucy Harris a general before it's over.
Oh, that's right. Lucy Harris.
Another great person. Her son who gave his life and Oscar's amazing. You had met him, and I felt like he could be, like Tom Graves could be president of the United States, and unfortunately he was killed. But Lucy has a great attitude, and she's got a huge network, Oscar, that she has brought to the Allegheny show and to you and what we're doing.
Well, I appreciate that too. Lucy is something else. In fact, Lucy's on this Allegheny team, you said.
Yes, she's part of the Allegheny Army.
She calls in. She's very articulate. She taught school. She's retired now.
And one of the best school teachers around.
I think it was political science, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, she taught, in English. I think she was a great English teacher. And then we got people like Kelly McBride, who's one of the best. We got a great educational system here in Gilmer County. But I think, I'm excited about our goal, Oscar, of making Gilmer County #1 in the world in business.
By the way,
capital of the world.
By the way, folks, this is Gilmer County, Georgia. As I've already said, we're 75 miles north of Atlanta. And this is a place to be. Isn't it, Joe?
The media people love to come here because they can come to see Oscar Poole do a television radio interview. Then they go fishing or play golf, right?
Yes. Now, when the international folks come to Atlanta, Georgia, they do not go south.
They come north.
They come north. They come right by our front door.
Right.
And, of course, location.
Well, and then the famous Oscar Poole is there. And what I think is exciting about you, Oscar, is people come up here, they want to have their picture taken with you, they want to get your autograph, and I know that's got to make you feel good, including some pretty girls that I've happened to meet that have gotten your autograph over the years.
Tell them about the sex symbol.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there were 3 really pretty women over at Poole's Barbecue, and Oscar was in having a meeting with somebody, and they were saying how great Oscar was, and I went in and told Oscar they were out there, and Oscar said, well, I'm busy right now, Joe, so I went back out there. Then I took it on myself. I said, these women are really sharp and they're pretty, so I went back in and said, Oscar, come on out for a minute. They came out, and they just went crazy over Oscar, and so we had a lot of fun, and they got their picture taken with Oscar, got an autograph, and they were just loved Oscar. So when he left, I said, Oscar, you and I have been good friends for years, but I didn't realize you were the women loved you like they do.
And what do you call me?
Sex symbol.
Now, folks, he's talking about I was 79 years old then.
Right.
And I'm 80 years old now. I'm happily married to Edna.
You're a great lady.
How many
60
years?
Something, right? 60 years, Oscar, to a great lady and who's been your partner and helped build that famous barbecue.
Yes. If it hadn't been for Edna, I wouldn't be worth a dime.
Well, she's been a great aid, and you both are a great team. And Oscar, I'm just excited about what we've been able to do, but what we're going to do in the future.
Well, you know, up the road a piece, we have Bud Holloway's place.
Fine person.
The Pink Pig, and they're the Democrats, and we are the
Republicans. And yet you go up and eat there, and they come eat with you?
Oh, yes. I sure do. Recall what Jackie said to his wife. Now, Bud's died about a year and a half ago, wasn't it?
Fine man, yes.
And yes, he was a fine man. He was my friend.
Yes.
And we speak well of our.
We don't talk about it. We speak of your competition.
Yes.
We want to build everybody up. We want anybody to deal with Joe McCutchen and Oscar Poole to win. And we don't want anybody to lose. We don't attack anybody.
That's right. Now, folks, can you see? And Jackie Holloway, Bud's wife, said to me, "Now, Oscar, you're a pretty good promoter. The Pigmobile and the Pigs on the Hill and the yellow suit and this and that and the other thing. But having Joe Kelly McCutchen as your friend hasn't hurt." And
Well, it's just like you've helped me being a friend to me. So I think together we're a strong team. And then with Allegheny, I think you, me, and Allegheny, I think we're building a very powerful coalition in American politics.
I really accept that, Joe, and I'm humbly. Now, tell about my yellow suit.
Well, I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I used to call it the $1 million suit. I've got to change it to the $2 or $3 million suit. Oscar wears his great yellow suit with his hat, and it's been all over. It's been on CNN. It's been on C-SPAN, Fox, every television outlet in the world. When Pat Buchanan came down, the whole international press came to Poole's barbecue. So Oscar Poole with his suit, now he's got 3 of them, but he's going to have to change it. I used to call it the $1 million suit. Now I've got to change it to $2 or $3 million. But that's his image. He's like Clark Kent putting on his suit. When you put on that suit, you become Superman. You're the super colonel. You become super colonel.
You know, Joe, we've had C-SPAN here 4 times.
And we want to invite Steve Scully and C-SPAN down again.
Yes, they're invited. Steve, are you hearing this, Steve? Please bring that bus down. You promised to bring that bus, and you haven't.
The famous C-SPAN bus.
Yes. Well, we had Pat Buchanan 3 times, and
then we had all the Republican leaders, Guy Milner when he ran for governor. We had all of them being interviewed there at Poole's famous barbecue. And really, Oscar, your barbecue has become a symbol of what's great about America: small business, free enterprise. And I, as I said before, I think you're the #1 salesman for free enterprise in the world.
Well, I humbly accept that, and I thank you for your compliments. Well, this interview is moving right along. We're almost through here. I appreciate you, Joe, having me in your home today, in this lovely home here in LJ, Georgia. Tell me about your parents, your father.
Well, my mother and father are really good to me. They were both successful business people. Actually, my grandfather, B.J. Bandy, who was the first man, they say, to make $1 million in the carpet business, he gave my mother and daddy $50,000 in 1936 and 37, I think it was. And they started J&C Bread Spread, Joe and Christine Bedspread Company. And one time had 1,000 employees, and they ran a very successful business. And then I came to work after I graduated from Georgia Tech, and we started another company called Universal Carpets, which I became president of. And at one time, we had $8 million in sales, and I was fortunate enough in 1975, as a result of being president of Universal, to be named the #1 small businessman in Georgia. And that's really when I got fired up. That and being named the #1 businessman in Georgia, and also going to Czechoslovakia. Those were 2 of the key things in my life that made me really fire up and try to help small business people like you, Oscar.
I certainly am glad you told that story behind being behind the Iron Curtain with your family and those guns and those people, how depressed they were. Ladies and gentlemen, America is headed in a similar way. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to my interview, my first interview on this new website, WCBA, What the Mind Can Conceive, the Heart Believe, You Can Achieve. And I've been here in the home of Joe McCutchen, the #1 call-in man in America, the man who comes at our Small Business Administration. Not administration.
We don't want government.
No, we don't want any
Small
government.
Business Coalition.
Small Business Coalition. And so on the website here, and I think you'll find that very challenging. Thank you, Joe, for being my guest on this program today.
Thank you, Oscar. It's great to be with a great American and free enterprise champion like you, and look forward to having a lot of fun with you in the years ahead.
This is a WCBA production.